السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله، الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن والاه. أهل الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى: والذين إذا أصابهم البغي هم ينتصرون. صدق الله العظيم. One of the things that we saw in the State of the Union address by the president was obviously, in addition to the famous comment that he made about winning both campaigns for presidency in 2008 and 2012, another comment that really stood out for me was when the president reiterated America's commitment in his administration's commitment to opposing and fighting anti-Semitism. There were huge applause amongst the audience, consisting of members of both House of Representatives and the United States Senate. Yet in the same breath, when he actually mentioned that he would also fight and that it's un-American to stereotype against Muslims and to paint all Muslims with the same broad brush of extremism and violent radical militancy, he was met with deafening silence, as if there was no one in the hall. As soon as he said the word Muslim, people stopped clapping and they stopped applauding. And so that got me thinking that the reality of our condition is that we sometimes, with our rhetoric and with our demands and with the way we want to tell our story, we are far removed from our reality. The reality of the American Muslim community, the reality of our status in this society is such that when stereotyping us is opposed in front of the people's representatives, even our own co-religionists sitting there, two Muslim congressmen, even they refuse to applaud, when obviously there was a time and necessity for everyone to unite against all types of hate, any type of hate, regardless of who the victim or who the target of the hate is. If it's the Jews and we're talking about anti-Semitism, then absolutely it deserves to be condemned and it deserves to be repudiated. But at the same time, this repudiation should also equally apply when the hatred is directed towards Muslims. But that wasn't the case. And we saw that at the highest level, that wasn't the case. And time and again, we see glimpses in American politics, in American society, that actually teach us where we truly are in terms of our place and how we can reclaim our status as American citizens who deserve to be respected and who deserve dignity like anyone else across this land, and whose religion deserves respect, and whose faith and whose values and whose culture deserves everyone's respect. We saw that was not on display when the president so courageously, and we need to all support him and commend him for that he came out fully in support of Muslims, fully in support of even Muslims worldwide by saying that we're not allowed to stereotype and we're not allowed to generalize about Muslims in view of the militancy and in view of what's going on, what went on in Paris and what continues to go on in the Middle East and other parts of the Muslim world. And that is our problem, that we don't necessarily look at where we are and how weak our standing is. And it's, we don't want to be pessimistic because we have made tremendous progress. We have taken a lot of positive steps to integrate ourselves and to write and to tell our story and to craft our narrative in the minds of our fellow Americans. But we have a long way to go. And for us to even get to where we should be, we first need to consider where we are. The problem is, a lot of us, we don't see where we are. We want to just go by the legal definition of what it means to be an equal citizen, what it means to have civil rights, what it means to be a person that everyone should respect, a religion and a community that everyone should respect, and whose rights everyone should stand up for and should defend. We need to understand where we are, and we don't seem to have that understanding. Oftentimes you see that Muslims would say, why is it that African Americans have their rights? Why is it that Jewish Americans have their rights and they're considered part and parcel of the American fabric? Why is such and such other group respected and represented in America? The Mormons, and the list goes on. And obviously each minority have their fair share of problems and issues in the United States. But what we don't seem to understand is that we don't have the history that African Americans have. We don't have that moral standing and that burden that's placed upon the conscience of America because of the fact that they were brought to this part of the world in chains as slaves, and they had to go under a brutal system of slavery and oppression and later on disenfranchisement and the continued discrimination. And every other group that you can think of and that you want to compare yourself with, you see that they had their struggles, that they paid their dues, and that they contributed to America. That didn't just come and they got the nominal citizenship and then claimed the equal status and claimed that they now are equal citizens and they should be respected and they should be valued and their opinions should matter. That's something that we need to understand, that we as a community, we have not paid our dues. We truly have not contributed to the American society the way we should contribute, with the immense capacity that we have, the talent that we have, the enormous resources and the knowledge and the wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. We continue to be here physically, but to be elsewhere mentally and with our hearts. And as long as we continue to do that, we live here with our bodies, but our souls and our hearts are back home. We cannot expect to be accorded the kind of status that other minorities and other groups have been afforded. And that's a simple fact. And this would be under normal circumstances. Under very normal circumstances, we will not be able to have any of this. And so if you also add to it an extra layer of Islamophobia, an extra layer of what's going on around the world, an extra layer of the world events that, whether we like it or not, define us in people's minds, the media coverage that's there. And I think sometimes we're being too harsh on the media. The media needs to cover what it needs to cover, and they choose to cover what they choose to cover. And when they cover violence that's perpetuated and perpetrated by people who claim to be Muslims, then that's it's as much a highlighting of problems that exist within our communities as it is a bias that's there, xenophobia that's there against Muslims. And so, in view of these realities, the fact that we're not even in normal circumstances, and that there are extra burdens placed upon our shoulders, we need to realize that we have to work extra hard to get to where we should be, to claim our place, our rightful place in this society. Now, we know within our hearts and within ourselves that it is not fair that the way we're being treated, but that's the way things are. That's the way things are, and it doesn't mean we give up and give up on the system, but we have to know the history, and we have to know that our place in this country is unique. We don't come with the pain and suffering that African Americans or others come. We don't have that history, so let us not claim their status. Of course, those 1/4 of the Muslim American community that are African Americans, they obviously have every right to claim that. But then we have a problem of privilege within our own communities, where when we need to be recognized, when we need to fight for our rights and claim our rights, we end up going and claiming that we are African Americans, and African Americans are an important part of our community, and so on and so forth. But once that issue is done, when it comes to sharing the privileges within our own communities, the wealth within our own communities, the leadership within our own communities, then African Americans are nowhere to be seen in the picture, because we don't want to be in the picture. And so we cannot claim their struggle in that kind of a convenient manner. We really need to, obviously, those American Muslims who happen to be African Americans, they obviously can and should leverage that history that they have to claim their rights. But at the same time, a lot of us are not African Americans. A lot of us are immigrants that are first or second or third generation Americans, yet we have a background. We have our ties to Pakistan or Egypt or Saudi Arabia or whatever country it may be. And the reality is, a lot of us live much better lives in America than we did back home. And that's why we're here. And that reality shouldn't be ignored when we talk about our civil rights, when we talk about equality, when we talk about the respect that we truly and rightfully deserve. But this is not how America works. It is as simple as that. In America, you have to work hard to get to where you should be treated equally and fairly in accordance with the laws of the land. In America, one of the things that they teach you in any econ class is they teach you that there is no free lunch. So there is no free lunch. We have to work hard. And what I mean by working hard is that we need to give back to our communities at the local level. At the local level, for God's sake, we have mosques surrounded by churches, and who for years have no interaction with these churches. No interact except the symbolic token interfaith dialogue or the mosque open house. There's no real communication. There's no real sincere effort to reach out to them and to work with other faith groups, to work with the synagogues and the churches in our communities, and with the local government and with the neighborhood associations. The list goes on and on and on. We don't do that, and that's not simply a priority for us. Our the thing that we have taken and adopted very well from the American culture is the individualistic aspect of it, where we are all only concerned about our own well-being. We're only concerned about making it to the top of the top rung of the corporate ladder. We're only worried about having the best houses, the best cars, the best jobs. That's all we were worried about. We think very individually. We think very individually. And when it comes to these big important issues, we tend to just expect our organizations that are very weak and mediocre to begin with, we expect them to do all the work. That's not how it works. It may work for under normal circumstances for some other minority, but for us, it's not going to work. We have to work extra hard, overtime, in overdrive, to achieve our dreams, to get to where we should be. And that's simply the reality of it. A lot of it is venting. A lot of what we do is vent on social media. A lot of it is that we vent and we use the law, that this is against the law and that's against the law. There is a portion of our community, there are people within our community, there are organizations in our community that should be doing that should be fighting for our civil rights, that should be fighting for justice and so on and so forth. But that's not an attitude that we should all adopt. Sometimes it feels like we're all civil rights lawyers. When you want to get your rightful place and to claim your place and the American fabric, what you need to do is to go beyond the legal responsibilities and duties that you have. Beyond just, I'm paying my taxes and I'm working hard and I have an education and therefore no one should hate me. It doesn't work that way. Yes, when you pay taxes, when you have a job, you'll have a home, you'll have a car. Those individual rights, that individual American dream, you'll be afforded. There's no denying that fact, that if you work hard enough, you'll make it in America. But we're not talking about making it in America as an individual. We're talking about making it in America as a community of believers, as a community that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought out for humanity to make this world a better place. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You are a people, you are a nation that has been brought out by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this world a better place, to serve people. Ukhrijat linnas, limanfa'atin nas, lifa'idatin nas. You have been taken out, you have been brought out to help people, to help humanity, and to make this community that you live in, the neighborhood that you live in, the nation that you live in, a better place for everyone, not just for yourself. So it's not just about our rights, it's not just about our standing and our status in our country. It is a lot more than that. And I think the more important imperative for us to get up and do work and to reclaim and to claim our space, our rightful place in this society, is a spiritual imperative. A spiritual imperative. Even if we didn't have this imperative in terms of the socio-economics, in terms of politics, in terms of being afforded equal rights and so on and so forth, we should still strive to serve and to cooperate and to be people of mercy and compassion, and to stand out as just incredible people, doing incredible things in our communities, doing incredible things in our workplaces, doing incredible place with our neighbors that belong to other faiths, so that they can trust us, so that they can believe in us, so that they can take our claims of being good and being model citizens and being just regular normal human beings, so that they can take those claims seriously. And those claims will only be taken seriously if we truly act upon the teachings of this blessed deen, the teachings of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who after all has said, "Khayrun nasi anfa'uhum lin-nas." The best of people are those who from whom the most benefit comes to humanity. And it's as simple as that. And this message needs to go to every Muslim. Every American Muslim needs to heed this call, that if you want your place in this society, and if you want your rights in this society, if you want to be respected, and furthermore, if you want to have barakah in your life, and if you want to have barakah as a community, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we need to take our jobs seriously, and we need to move beyond what we absolutely must do by paying taxes and so on and so forth. We need to go far beyond that, far and above that, so that we can truly one day, inshallah, be respected as equal citizens, as people who truly belong in this country. And when you make a comparison with people in Europe, Muslims in Europe, we are doing much better. And inshallah, we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes the condition of our European Muslim brothers and sisters also for the better. But we also have a lot of work to do. We have so much work to do, and we have a long way to go. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our communities. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to self-critique, to look into our own conditions and to try to change from within, to make sure we understand that we're not doing enough, that we are not doing what we are supposed to be doing as American Muslims. It's very hard sometimes for us to critique ourselves, and it's very easy to blame everything on others, on conspiracies, on this and that. But at the end of the day, have you done enough? Have you even done anything nearly enough of the amount of work that you put into improving the condition of your own community and the community at large? That's the question we need to be asking, and it looks like Samar concurs. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bye-bye. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and we'll see you next time.